It is 0427 hours in the North Atlantic. The waters are obsidian, the atmosphere is bitter, and the surface remains undisturbed. Yet far beneath, in the oppressive void, a solitary acoustic pulse slices through the quiet. This is not the casual sound of marine life, nor the benign drone of ambient interference. It is precise, intentional, and recognizable. Something lurks there, advancing gradually, noiselessly, like a hunter awaiting the ideal opportunity to attack. For Allied naval leaders, this represents the nightmare they fear most: a Russian Yasin M-class nuclear submarine, such as the recently commissioned Generalissimo Suvorov, navigating unnoticed through disputed territories. Overhead, a battle group moves westward, commanded by the USS Gerald Ford, the most sophisticated aircraft carrier ever constructed. Theoretically, it remains untouchable, a maritime fortress capable of projecting force to any corner of the planet. Yet below the surface, concealed beyond radar, exists a platform engineered for one mission: to destroy vessels exactly like it. When factions embody absolute dominance and destructive capability, projecting its might worldwide, the other operates in concealment, built to hunt, to attack, and then disappear into the depths. When these opposing powers encounter each other, maritime supremacy can transform instantly, because in contemporary naval combat, a single submarine, concealed and quiet, can endanger billions in warships, aircraft, and personnel within moments. So critical questions emerge. Could a Russian submarine actually approach close enough to target an American carrier while remaining undetected? Could it silently establish firing position while Allied destroyers and patrol aircraft monitor overhead? Or would such an aggressive maneuver provoke massive retaliation, revealing the submarine and ensuring its destruction as a tactical blunder? This represents reality, not fantasy. It exemplifies the cutting edge of modern warfare, an underwater strategy game where stealth, endurance, and accuracy dictate survival. And today, we will analyze precisely how this confrontation might develop.
The Russian Yasin M-class submarine, identified by NATO as the Dolgoruki class, stands among the most formidable underwater threats currently operational. Constructed under Project 955A, it represents Russia's evolution toward concealment and accuracy, specifically engineered to challenge Allied carrier formations. Its strength derives from a single OK-650B nuclear power plant, providing the submarine essentially limitless submerged operations. Unlike conventional diesel-powered vessels, which require surfacing or air intake, the Yasin M can remain underwater for extended periods, constrained only by provisions and crew endurance. This capability enables it to remain stationary, patiently, until appropriate targets emerge. What renders the Yasin M particularly threatening is its concealment technology. Its hull features sophisticated sound-dampening coatings to deflect acoustic detection. Its propulsion system operates with minimal noise signature, and its design enables operation beneath thermoclines, natural acoustic barriers where identification becomes nearly impossible. Intelligence assessments suggest the Yasin M might match the U.S. Navy's Los Angeles class in sound reduction, a technology few fleets have achieved. Beyond that lies destructive power. The submarine's launch tubes can accommodate up to 32 ballistic missiles, including the R-30 Bulava for strategic strikes, the P-700 Granit for naval engagements, and potentially the 3M-22 Zircon, a hypersonic weapon achieving Mach 9+ velocities. Combined with heavy 650mm torpedoes, the Yasin M can engage surface vessels, submarines, and coastal installations with catastrophic results. With several platforms currently active, including the latest K-550 Generalissimo Suvorov, the Yasin M transcends mere weaponry. It constitutes Russia's declaration that underwater, its influence extends far, silently, and lethally. When a Yasin M-class submarine enters the northern Pacific, Allied response becomes comprehensive, rapid, and uncompromising. Anti-submarine operations, ASO, represent more than individual weapons or strategies. They constitute a coordinated network of vessels, aircraft, rotorcraft, autonomous systems, and intelligence platforms collaborating to locate one target, the subtle indication of a hostile submarine concealed in deep waters. Initial response typically originates from aerial assets. The P-8A Poseidon, America's specialized submarine detection aircraft, functions as an airborne sensor platform. It establishes networks of acoustic buoys, compact floating detection devices monitoring for minimal disturbances, engine sounds, pressure variations, even the subtle vibration of reactor systems. Additionally, the P-3 operates magnetic detection equipment and infrared scanning systems, technologies designed to penetrate ocean layers and expose what hides below. At sea level, Allied vessels extend the detection perimeter. U.S. Ticonderoga-class cruisers, British Type 45 destroyers, and Japanese Akizuki-class frigates all deploy extended-range sonar arrays, listening continuously for underwater signatures. Unlike conventional hull-integrated sonar, these systems extend via cables, filtering background interference and identifying sounds that stealthier platforms attempt to mask. The third component returns to aerial operations, this time launching from carrier and frigate platforms. MH-60R helicopters deploy immersion sonar directly underwater, monitoring continuously. They transport Mark 46 anti-submarine torpedoes, prepared for immediate deployment should a submarine expose its location. Maneuverable, swift, and accurate, these helicopters often represent Allied spearhead operations in submarine detection. Increasingly, Allied forces supplement traditional methods with robotic platforms. Autonomous underwater vehicles monitor strategic passages like the Guyuk Gap, the vital waterway between Korea and Japan where Russian submarines must transit to access the Pacific. These drones, integrated with satellite intelligence and orbital monitoring, create detection barriers for any platform attempting covert passage. Perhaps Allied forces' primary advantage, however, exists in coordination. A sonar detection registered by a Japanese destroyer can transfer immediately to a U.S. cruiser or British P-3 operating overhead. This instantaneous multinational information sharing makes submarine concealment exponentially more difficult. The objective remains clear: eliminate stealth advantage. Once a Yasen-M becomes suspected, Allied forces deploy sensors, expand formations, and maintain pressure until the submarine commander confronts a decision: risk detection and elimination, or withdraw silently into deeper waters. For Allied command, either result represents success.
It is 0445 hours, southeast of the Faroe Islands. The ocean remains dark and uninterrupted, the surface peaceful. But 250 meters down, a Russian Yasen-M submarine advances in complete silence. Its acoustic technicians monitor distant signals. Then, the characteristic sound pattern materializes: 3 escorts, 1 major platform. The profile of a U.S. carrier formation. Within the submarine, personnel begin computations. No surfacing required, no transmission necessary. Simply precise, systematic targeting calculations. Theoretically, the formation faces destruction. 32 missiles and heavy torpedoes prepared in launch tubes. From below, the world's most sophisticated aircraft carrier enters targeting range. However, the ocean never favors one side. Above, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser detects a minor anomaly on sonar, too faint for confirmation, too significant to dismiss. Within moments, MH-60R helicopters deploy from the carrier platform, lowering sonar into the water. Overhead, a P-3 Orion adjusts its pattern, releasing additional acoustic buoys. The detection network begins contracting. For the Russian commander, the operation suddenly transforms from hunting to escape. Maintain silence, withdraw, or accept confrontation that could escalate beyond underwater conflict.
Contemporary underwater combat extends beyond traditional steel, sonar, and weaponry. Increasingly, battles involve digital systems and cyber penetration. In early 2024, Allied intelligence reportedly compromised Russian naval networks, accessing classified information regarding submarines, including acoustic signatures and operational patterns. For military intelligence, such information proves invaluable. Submarine effectiveness depends on anonymity. Once its characteristics become known, tracking relies not on sonar, but on algorithms. The consequences prove dramatic. If a USS faces cyber penetration, if its control systems share weaknesses with other Russian platforms, then underwater battlefield dynamics shift immediately. Detection might originate not from acoustic buoys in the Pacific, but from digital traces monitored continuously. Russia has countered with independent cyber operations, while conducting combined naval training with North Korea, integrating electronic countermeasures, cyber protection, and submarine detection within identical exercises. This developing environment represents what experts term integrated underwater warfare, an arena where silence and sonar now combined with encryption and programming. In this emerging reality, submarines hide not just from radar and sonar, but from digital intrusion penetrating their systems.
Historical evidence demonstrates that submarine carrier confrontations represent more than theoretical scenarios. Throughout the Cold War, submarines routinely monitored U.S. carrier formations, evaluating detection capabilities and identifying vulnerabilities. These weren't merely training exercises, they constituted actual confrontations, occasionally resulting in collisions that might have escalated catastrophically. One notable incident occurred on April 11, 1984, in the Atlantic Ocean. The American aircraft carrier USS Nimitz conducted operations near Gibraltar. Concealed below, the Soviet submarine K-324, a Charlie-class nuclear platform, had monitored the carrier formation. At 2:47 a.m., without notice, the submarine surfaced immediately ahead of the carrier's path. No opportunity existed for evasive action. The Nimitz struck the submarine, damaging its conning tower and masts. The carrier sustained minimal harm, but K-324 required emergency repairs. The disturbing reality, confirmed subsequently, was that the submarine carried nuclear-armed torpedoes. This wasn't isolated. During the 1960s and 1970s, Soviet submarines consistently challenged American defenses, frequently achieving closer proximity than U.S. commanders preferred acknowledging. In additional cases, U.S. attack submarines monitored Soviet carrier groups, establishing continuous underwater surveillance beneath the seas. Each encounter involved tremendous danger. A single error, an accidental torpedo launch, or misinterpreted sonar contact could have triggered open warfare between nuclear powers. These confrontations emphasize a stark reality. Error margins in underwater warfare remain extremely narrow. Submarines and carriers operate closely, often undetected until final moments. In 1984, fortune prevented catastrophe. However, with current weapons, hypersonic missiles, advanced torpedoes, and cyber warfare capabilities, risks have multiplied. History reveals previous close calls. The concern becomes, what occurs during the next encounter?
Below the surface, genuine conflicts of the 21st century unfold in silence. Acoustic pulses, concealment, and choices made in darkness. A single submarine can alter power dynamics, yet every action involves risk, and every confrontation tests boundaries between deterrence and catastrophe. The question transcends how close a Russian buoy can approach a U.S. carrier. It concerns whether the world prepares for consequences if someday it refuses to withdraw. For additional analysis on naval operations, maritime defense, and international military technology, subscribe for more. Stay vigilant, stay prepared.